Hello and welcome everyone to our May special Mental Health Awareness Month Town Hall. I'm really excited to bring back Sam Bernard here. He's one of our psychologist consultants for the WHN, and we have enjoyed several really meaningful and helpful workshops with Sam before. So we're really grateful that Sam could come back. Sam has also brought with him his team from the PAR Foundation, Mike Hastelow, Karen Carney, and Renee. So thank you so much for all of you to take your time out to come share with us today. So I'll turn it over to you, Sam.
Great. Thanks so much, Katie, for inviting us to be here and for hosting this time for us to come together. Thanks so much. Also, thanks to um, the World Health Network and UNIR and all of the folks that are helping to make things happen worldwide. We do appreciate you. If you would please, just so that we can know a bit more about who is joining us, as we're upwards of 25 people now, if you could just in the chat put your location, your country, your state, your city, whatever you would like to do, just to let us know where all you're from, and also your interests, maybe your academic background, that sort of thing. And then also what's motivating you to attend this particular meeting today. And if you want to include your age, you can. You don't have to, but it would be kind of an interesting demographic as well. So if you all would please put that in the chat, and this will be kept private. We're not going to post that anywhere or anything like that. Anyway, I do want to recognize the other PAR Foundation partners that are with us now for this presentation. And if they would please just put your hand up either physically or the Zoom hand. We have Dr. Karen Carney, who is a life coach, a social psychologist. We have Michael Haslow, a licensed professional counselor. We have Renee's Trim, who's also an LPC in Georgia, and also Dr. Deborah Linnell, who's an LPC as well. They're going to be helping with the breakout rooms, and also we'll be sticking around if anyone wants to talk with us about anything specifically afterwards as well. Karen, Mike, Renee's, Deborah, if you all want to put your contact information in the chat, so if anyone wants to get in contact with you privately, they'll be able to do that. So I want to first start off by talking about disasters. Um, some people would say that we might be in the midst of a disaster now, socio-politically, um, epidemiologically, whatever, but want to acknowledge the impact that both natural disasters and also human caused disasters can have on people. I want to bring your attention initially to this graphic. Now, this comes from one of my good friends, Diane Myers, who's a nurse. And these are the phases of disaster. And what I want, I'm not going to go into lots of detail with this, but I want to share with you this because of some of the insights that we're able to glean from this. So, this is both theoretical and practical. If you'll notice in the pre-disaster phase, there's normal kind of ups and downs. And when a disaster happens, then things happen. But on the outcome, most people are able to bounce back, to get back to their pre-morbid level of functioning, if you will. And that's basically called post-trauma recovery. They basically get back to where they were. Didn't lose anything, didn't gain anything, got back to where they were. In other words, their resiliency qualities helped them. They were able to do what they were supposed to do. However, there are some other folks that because of this disaster, whatever it is, they are able to grow from that experience. And this is what's called post trauma growth. This is the folks who are able to take an experience and learn from it and actually be able to function at a higher level on any number of indices. However, there's also the other side of this, and that is the folks who are not able to recover, basically bounce back to where they came from, nor are they able to have post trauma growth. But it is because of this event that they have what's called post trauma regression. They are not able to bounce back. If anything, they are functioning at a lower level than what they were before the disaster happened. Sadly, these people, the post trauma regression folks, may be seen as psychological casualties or even medical casualties because they're not able to heal afterward. Now, I do want to give recognition that this graphic is primarily for natural disasters. There is another graphic that I can share at a later time that is for terrorism and or mass casualty. The main difference with that graph is that there's a lot more vacillations than in this one. Just know that there's more to the story too. Okay, I want you to keep this in mind. So we're going to look at some components that may be able to help determine either post trauma growth, post trauma recovery, or post trauma regression. The first thing that we're going to take a look at is choice. Do people have a choice in a disaster? Some folks would say yes, they do. Some folks would say no. I want to acknowledge that many times we make reference to people as victims of disaster, victims of terrorism, victims of interpersonal violence, victims of domestic violence. Do victims have choice? Some things to think about. So, what are some components of this thing called choice? Like I mentioned, victims don't have a choice. However, survivors can see choices. They can see that there are options. And thrivers are able to embrace those choices, those options. Again, I want you to keep this in your conscious awareness as we continue on during our time together. So, what are some of the ways that um, we can manifest these choices? So, what do we do when we're able to see choices and maybe even manifest them? Well, that is what we call our purpose in life. Our purpose is a journey, it is not a destination, it is a journey. Many times it can be seen as a way of self discovery, of finding out who we are as a person, as a member of a community, as a member of a nation, as a member of the world, of the planet. And we can help to define our purpose by looking at our values, by looking at what are our passions, what fires us up inside, what are our interests, and what are our goals that align with those other three things just above that, the values, passions, and interests. In other words, our purpose is okay, so now that I'm here, now that I've been birthed, so what? Now what? Now what do I do with this thing called life? Hmm. at some point, we may actually have to contemplate, are we going to be a producer in life, or are we going to be a consumer in life? Or more than likely, are we going to be going back and forth between those two? We may be a producer, being able to provide things to life other than ourselves, and we may need to utilize things in life for ourselves. Is one of those more predominant than the other? In other words, throughout our life, how one of the ways that we can help define our purpose, and it may change throughout our life, is to ask the question and try to operationally define it. So, how can I justify the oxygen that I've used? What's my purpose in life? Why am I here? We know that people right now are here because two people either loved each other or they thought they were really neat and they had sex. And we're here. We weren't aborted. We're here. Someone wanted us. Someone, if it wasn't our biological parents, someone adopted us. Someone took care of us. We're here for a reason. What is that reason? So I've just devised this handout, this worksheet, if you will, that helps to define what our purpose is at various stages in life. And I'll make this available to you so that you can take a look at that. Note that it can change over time. And I've given some hints kind of in the gray font um, of some things to think about. Hopefully, as you consider this, you'll find maybe one or two common threads that run through your purposes in life developmentally. Endurance is another component. It's actually a combination of a number of things that typically look at our mental well being. It also takes a look at our physical well being and our spiritual well being. Endurance. How do we keeping on? It also has some practical applications into how do we problem solve when we bump up against something that doesn't have a clear answer that we may have learned rotely or vicariously. How do we figure it out? And how do we maintain hope? Hope. We'll look into that a little bit further too. How do we maintain hope? How can we be patient? And also, how can we remember our purpose? Because endurance is also linked back to our purpose. Our purpose can basically guide us through any kind of experience in life. It's so important to be able to know and to think about what is our purpose right here, right now. And maybe even postulate, if you will, about what might our purpose be in the future. There's also the concept of fulfillment. So, what is that? At some point, being able to experience joy and or satisfaction in our daily lives, that we have done something okay enough. One of my colleagues used to boast about C's get degrees. And while initially my OCD self stomach would turn at that, yeah, C's get degrees, and it's okay to get through things enough. We don't have to make an A on everything. And part of fulfillment is also realizing that we have been able to make a contribution to something other than, maybe even larger than ourselves. We've been able to contribute and thus manifesting. our purpose. So, what is this thing that we've talked about previously, and it's called hope? What in the world is hope? Well, some folks would say it's a positive outlook, if you will. It's willpower, being able to have a bit more of a strength-based agency thinking, having a strength focus, which includes self-care, as opposed to a weakness focus. We're able to, in order to have hope, we're able to have meaningful goals that are attainable, that are understandable. And this is the pathway, the routes, if you will, the route, the way power, if you will, how we're going to manifest our purpose. Engage in activities that bring joy and purpose. Hope, yeah, by being able to experience these kinds of activities, it can bring us hope because we have attained it once. Maybe, just maybe, we can attain it again. Or we can use the skills that we've developed and maybe even the new ones, and maybe even have some novel thoughts and ideas to creatively adapt to new unknown conditions, problems, opportunities. Part of hope is being able to recognize that we can seek inspiration and we can seek connection from others. We don't have to do this all alone. Now, in order to do that last one, being able to seek inspiration or connection from others, we have to have trust in those people. Now, I would ask you to think about how do you attain or gain trust from people? How do you then maintain that trust? How do you trust others? What is your litmus test, if you will? What are your ingredients for trusting others? Please make some notes about this. It's important to know what our criteria are. In looking at trust and hope, we also need to address locus of control. If we have an internal locus of control, do we trust ourselves? In other words, do we have hope in ourselves to be able to continue on? Do we have trust in something outside of ourselves? Maybe people, maybe institutions, maybe pets, maybe what? Where's our locus of control? And if that locus of control is external, do we trust it? I want you to think for just a moment, what do or don't you control? Because the locus of control is also tied to what do we have control over? What do we have influence over? And then what do we have absolutely no control over? I want you to do some thinking about that because that will help define both trust and hope.
Thank you. And that was lovely. And we always appreciate your time, Sam. And I already saw some requests for more events like this. So I'll probably be in touch with you for a follow-up and really appreciate you bringing your team and for all of your all that time that your team spent with us today was really lovely. And I appreciate the prompt for feedback. So we'll keep this open for a little while. The breakout rooms, we can also open those as an option if folks wanted to go
Mhm.
into breakout rooms. This time the setting is set to allow the participant to choose the room, so you won't get automatically shuttles there. Um, so let me go ahead and open the rooms. Great. Thanks again, Sam, and I'll stick around for a few minutes to see if anyone has any follow-ups. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, I think that the breakout rooms are starting to act a little bit possessed again. Some people are in the groups and maybe they did decide to go in there, but then that says groups, the rooms are changing, but I set it for 90 minutes, so uh,
Okay.
we'll see who's left and I'll get the tech worked out.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.